Well, good morning. How are you all today? Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm going to talk today about attacks on American towns. It's a scenario that I think is definitely possible as things escalate in the world situation. Before we get started, I want to remind you that this is brought to you by our sponsor, the Stonemont series of books, the complete guide to preparing for, surviving, and rebuilding after a total collapse of everything. If you're serious about preparing and you haven't read these, this might be the next thing you want to do, because all the lessons are in there. They are available and through Amazon or through our website, stonemont.us, and the links are down below. Oh, by the way, I'm going to throw this in too. I just got done watching today's video by Canadian Prepper. He put out, I don't watch him very often simply because I don't have time. I hardly watch any other channels, but whenever I watch his, I'm glad that I did. He does a very good job on situational reporting around the world, and he explained exactly why this thing going on in the Middle East very well may escalate into World War III. So if you have a few extra minutes after watching this sometime today, I would suggest you watch his video. Attacks on American towns. If this starts to escalate, I think it's a real possibility, and I want to lay out the scenario. It's something that you might want to think about. There will be people who say, oh, you shouldn't give them these ideas. Hey, if I have the idea, so does the captain of the opposing team. Okay? So I'm not giving anybody any ideas. But there is this thought that we're insulated from attacks. And we're not. Not anymore. And I don't mean just large attacks like 9/11. You know as well as I do all the people we've allowed into our country that shouldn't be here, who hate our country, who hate us, who want to bring it down. Why that is not the subject of this, but they are here. And we know of the possibilities of sleeper cells. We've known about this since the 80s. This is not really new. Some people think this is a recent development. It's not. Since the 80s, there was information indicating the existence of sleeper cells here. And there's a lot there that we don't have to go into. But I want to describe here a possibility that I think is something to keep in mind. Here's how they would take down or paralyze America, and how they would bring the attention of the entire world to their cause. Okay? Now we know that there have been calls for all the martyrs out there. We don't really know how many actual martyrs there are, but I'll tell you what, when you get people into a religious fervor and you have raised them up to feel like victims and reinforce that all of their lives, you can get a fervor that is beyond what most rational people can understand. Okay? And this is what we are very possibly dealing with. I'm going to use the example of Clinton, Missouri. I'm going to tell you how they could freeze our country. If the time came that they called up and made that call for the sleeper cells to arise, what I would do if I were, like I say, the captain of the opposing team, is I'd call up those sleeper cells. And now Clinton, Missouri, I'll just use that as an example because I know Clinton, Missouri very well. It's about a population of about 10,000 people. And it's about 60 miles east of here. I'd send my first people into the Walmart, 10 or 20 people. Doesn't have to be more than 10, actually. Send the first team into Walmart. Walmart's full of people. You have instant hostages. Okay, it's easily defendable. There's There's only a couple of ways in and out of a Walmart unless you're going to go through the roof. Reports go out, and so you seal that down. You get everybody, I don't have to go through everything about how you secure the hostages and all that. You've got them there, you secure them, and now the word goes out, and it's in a small shopping center there, so if you want more hostages, you just go to a few of the other stores around there and you run them all into the Walmart. The call goes out that there is an active shooter in Walmart. And so all of the Clinton Police Department, which probably on day shift is going to be anywhere from 6 to 10 guys, let's call it 8, and they're all going to the Walmart. Plus maybe a couple of sheriff's deputies from the county, plus maybe 1 or 2 highway patrol in that area. Now, the call will go out all around, but most of them are going to, not everybody from the whole state of Missouri is going to come in because it's Clinton's problem. And they figure they're going to be able to take care of it. So they roll up on there, and instead of going in, and they're going to go in like they're supposed to on an active shooter, as soon as they pull up and they start to go through those big glass doors of Walmart, the first arriving officers get mowed down because this is the purpose of it, is to draw them in, right? They get mowed down. Now it has changed from an active shooter to a barricaded subject hostage situation. Okay, so now the rest of the guys, the rest of the department, the remaining however many are still alive, are still out there in the parking lot, now trying to decide what to do. And now the call has gone out. We need everybody from the police department. We need everybody from the sheriff's department. We need everybody that can make it from highway patrol, which is not a lot around there. They mainly run the highways and run radar. Everybody get down there. Well, so as they're doing that, it happens 15 minutes later at the hospital. Okay. Hospital is full of people. You have ready-made hostages, limited accessibility, 1 or 2 security guards on duty during a day shift, easily taken care of. It's a brick building, difficult to breach if anybody was going to try to breach it with all those hostages in there. So now you have a secondary location, and you have another couple of hundred hostages. Okay. So now the call goes out. Now we have the same thing going on at the hospital, and now all the police commanders are going, what in the world is going on? Okay, so now the call goes out to try to get more people headed their way. Well, every jurisdiction around there, every county, every police department, and a lot of these police departments in these small towns, they may have 1 guy on, right? Very limited stuff. And they're going to be sending people towards Clinton. It's going to be a mess. They don't understand what's going on. They're getting people there, but as far as command structure, it's going to be confusing for a while. So now they've got 2 active locations. They've got the Walmart and they've got the hospital. Everybody, all law enforcement is there. Now, all of a sudden, half hour later, it happens at the high school. Now, everybody would say, well, but they've locked down the high school. They've locked down the high school to allow, to keep out the nuisance coming in. Dedicated, incursionists, they're going to get in. They're going to get in just fine. They're going to blow those doors open, and now they're in the high school. And now they've got several hundred kids, hostages, teachers, kids, hostages, right? Now we've got 3 active locations in one little town. Next, a 4th location, the courthouse. So that's where it would stop in that town. You got Walmart, you got the hospital, you got the high school, and you got the courthouse. And the amount of media that has now been drawn to that area is unbelievable. It's like a full-scale attack against a small town, right? Here's something that I want to throw out here too. The idea of this, this fantasy of don't try this in a small town. This is one of the fantasies I want to dissuade people of. Well, up there in Maine, he tried it in a small town, didn't he? Yeah. What happened? Did everybody rise up like everybody seems to, to think would happen? And rise up, no, we're small town people, we take care of our business? No, they didn't. They got killed. They got shot like fish in a barrel. How many did he kill? 18? Okay. Try that in a small town. That's right, he tried it in a small town and he killed them. And we hear stories. Here's another part of the fantasy that I want people to get rid of, because you can't deal with fantasy when you're dealing with life and death situations. I know it's a nice song. It gets everybody riled up. It looks good on a t-shirt. But it's simply not true. You'll hear stories of heroes. Who was the hero father up there? Who was the guy that rose up and tried and took a knife and tried to stop the attack? Okay, nice story. Glad he did something, but what was the result? He's dead, okay? He tried, but he got killed. And he had to get a knife because he wasn't carrying a gun. See, this is what I've said before about this jazz about try this in a small town. It's total hooey, okay? Small towns are just like big towns. How many people in that bowling alley in that bar were armed? Apparently none. The guy had no resistance. Okay, let's go to Israel. Try that in a small kibbutz. Okay, what kind of resistance? Oh yeah, we have that one hero guy, the one hero grandfather that went in and saved his. What happened to the rest of them? They were killed or grabbed and taken as hostages. They were victims. Now, you hopefully are not a victim. And I tell you right now, the way to respond to these things, I'm going to further develop this scenario in just a second, but the way you respond to these situations is immediately. Immediately, with maximum force and violence. The best time for you to resist is at the beginning, before they get set up, because once they have established what they want to establish, your chances of survival plummet. Now they target a small town because the lack of law enforcement and their knowledge that the people will not rise up, because they have seen time after time after time after time of active shooters. Many in small towns where the people were not prepared to resist. They weren't armed. I know there will be some people out there that say, I'm going to go get them. I'll stand up. Yes, not enough. Okay? Not enough. And that's the problem, because we do not have a cohesion of community that is necessary for that to happen. Now, let me continue with this, okay? The media is going to be all over this. This is going to be worldwide immediately until the feds get down there and shut down all communications. Yeah, they're going to do all the things. They're going to shut down power. They're going to shut down water. They're going to shut down, they're going to jam all communications. They're going to try to keep the press back from getting the information out. Do you think the people who conducted these operations didn't think of that? They did. If they're smart, they did. They thought about it. They know exactly. They're going to shut down the electricity. They're going to shut down the water. They're going to shut down air conditioning or heat or whatever at the time of year. They're going to shut this stuff down. They will have provided for their own situation, and pretty soon they're going to be putting out interviews of hostages that will get out. No matter how much the feds try to contain information, it will get out, and it will be all over the world. Now, here's what happens next. Now, if they want a close secondary location, they can go right up the road 30 miles to the University of Central Missouri. You talk about a soft target. They've got dorms up there that they can contain with only about 10 guys per dorm, with hundreds of students in it. That's a second location. You see where I'm going with this, right? And then, and that gets out. And then there's one that happens in Indiana. And then another one happens in Oklahoma. And then another one happens in Alabama. And another one happens in Colorado. You see where this is? It doesn't take that many people to do these things, especially when they're willing to die. And many of these people are. I mean, they want their virgins, right? These guys don't do well socially, and they can't wait for their virgins. This is how they could do this in our country. Yeah, it would make a great novel. I've thought about writing it, but I don't have time right now. But if it would make a great novel, you can be sure that other people have thought about it. The other side has thought about this. The things to keep in mind here is that we are not insulated by our oceans anymore. We have imported the enemy. You know, the old pogo, we have met the enemy and he is us. Well, he's not me and he's not you, but he is our government who brought in the enemy to bring our country down. And the so-called opposition that allowed it. Could this happen? Yeah, it could happen. It could. You would be amazed if you haven't. Maybe you wouldn't be. Maybe some of you out there are tuned in on this. The major universities. I mean, just two close by to me. One, University of Missouri, which is in mid-Missouri, Columbia, Missouri. University of Kansas, which is about 40, 50 miles to the west of me here. You can't believe how large their Islamic centers are. Let me put it that way. And I know from people who told me that the jihadi supporters within those Islamic communities are many. When the time comes, the call will go out. Now, some of them probably won't follow through with it. Some will. Probably many will. What if many do? This is why our country, while we may be a hard target from the outside, we're a soft target from the inside. Because we have people here who want to kill us. They want to destroy the great Satan. And we don't have enough people who are prepared, physically, mentally, emotionally, to rise up in time to resist it effectively. Just wouldn't happen. You just look at active shooter and hostage situations that have happened throughout the years. Sure. Eventually they get the guy. Eventually they would bring all this. I mean, how many innocent hostages would have to die before the scenario that I just laid out could be handled? Hundreds? Thousands? The American public is not ready for that kind of body count. They wouldn't do it. These things could last a long time, and the whole time the world is watching how America is held hostage. Something to think about in your moments today when you have a couple of down minutes. You know what the answer is. I mean, there is no countrywide answer to this except a lockdown, which is not what we want. Okay, this is supposed to be America where we can go about our lives and not have to worry about this stuff. But that's when we had a common culture, secure borders, whatever. And now really, you know, like they have said that every town is now a border town. Well, now everywhere you go is now the potential front line of this new war. And you have to be ready and able to fight it individually as it affects you individually. So what's the solution? The solution is in your hands, because the solution has to be for how it affects you personally. Because our government has washed its hands of responsibility for the American people. And this could happen. I'm surprised. Well, maybe I'm not surprised that it hasn't happened yet. But as we get closer to the worldwide explosion, yeah, I can see this happening very definitely. So anyway, you all have a good day thinking about that. I'll be interested to hear your comments. I should have said, by the way, at the very beginning, if you're not with us on Patreon, I invite you over there. We have a lot more on Patreon. The link is down below. And I'll be especially interested to hear the comments from our patrons over there. We just have a really, really smart bunch of folks over there who are going to have some insights. So think about this, because your survival is in your hands. Survival of your family is in your hands. The survival of our country is questionable, in my opinion, because it has been given up by those who were responsible for its survival. Y'all have a good day. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.